Ron, give us a little background on you and your education, your experience in agriculture, and how God has used that to use you in this part of the world.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks. It's a real privilege to be able to be on and connect with people who are like-minded. You know, uh, I had the privilege of growing up in Oregon on a farm. I had parents who were in ministry, but my grandfather had an orchard, and it was kind of a direct sales orchard, and we had every sort of fruit and nut tree you can possibly imagine. And I grew up working out there, junior high, high school, absolutely loved it. Learning how to prune and thin and how to pick the fruit and how to do the sales. And my heart was really in it. And it was hard work, but I loved looking back at the end of the day saying, wow, look what was able to be accomplished. And I just loved partnering with God and his nature and what he was doing. Um, Praying about college, a lot of people felt I had been so involved in kids ministries and in youth ministry all the way going through with parents in ministry. It was just a shoe-in that I should go to Bible college, but I couldn't imagine having a desk job, so to speak. It's not what I felt like I was made for. I was passionate about ministry. I had preached in church several times, um, and it led different groups, but I really felt like God was telling me I needed to study agriculture at Oregon State. And so I ended up on the Oregon State campus and studied agriculture, botany, forestry, kind of cobbled together my own multiple degree thing. And just, I loved understanding more and more about God's creation and who he was and how to partner with him in agricultural side of it. Well, when I was graduating in agriculture, I had to do an internship. And I was praying, okay, God, um, what would you have me do with this internship? Because I knew I'd seen some of my friends' lives, how that had kind of staged them for the next thing that God was calling them into in that next phase. And I'm like, oh, okay, what do you want here? And he said, I want you to go internationally and plant the church. And I was like, wait, hang on a second here. We had this conversation before college. I didn't go to the Bible college. I went to Oregon State and studied ag. And, I didn't know or see how God would connect those dots.
Hmm.
But I ended up having an internship where I went and worked on a Bible college campus in Portugal. They had an orange grove that needed management, re-landscaping work, and my advisor at Oregon State accepted this as my internship program, and I went and did that for a year. Wow, God started opening up my eyes to all kinds of possibilities. First thing I did was I worked with, right after this internship was over, I had been involved with a church there in Portugal and a couple of guys who had a heart for doing a green industries agricultural style internship to help Teen Challenge graduates be able to come out and be equipped with a profession that could help them in life. And so I launched my first BAM back in 2005, and it was quite the quite the experience. And God's had us on quite the adventure. It was in 2012 that I first took a trip here to the Pontic Hills. And people who were bringing me into the region, it's a country of 80 million people. And there's so few believers. At the time, we were told there's less than 4,000 evangelical believers amongst 80 million people in the country. And being a Muslim country, just seeing what that looked like, that I'd never been in a context like that before. And, hearing the call to prayer go off and seeing just the depravity, not having the church and what that meant. But then our guides took us out to the Pontic Hills and explained there's 10 million people living mostly rurally. All these hillsides covered in farms. 10 million people, 10,000 villages, but they said it was a zero zone with zero churches, zero resident Christians, and no one there to plant the church. And it really got a hold of our heart, and we started looking at the equation, and man, people living in rural areas, farmers that are isolated, it touched our heartstrings.
And I want to go back and walk through some of that with you because I hear you loud and clear, and I think about. I wonder how many people even listening to this today, and I hope this gets to a lot of guys that have that heart that you have. Number one, for seeing God in agriculture. I mean, it is, in my way of thinking, it is the oldest of all the professions. I know there's a joke around that, but I really think it is the oldest of all professions. And when God created Adam and Eve, He put them in the garden to work it, right? To tend it and to it was agribusiness, if you want to put a label on it. And so that's a beautiful thing. And I would hope somewhere that some of the younger folks out there that are having that same struggle you did. Obviously I should go this way, and God, they hear God's voice to say, no, let's go this way. I can use this in what I'm doing in the world. I love that. And then the the numbers, the 80 million people, 10 million in the rural areas. I mean, just literally, just I'll say isolated. I don't mean that in a negative. I mean, there's some there's some good there, but you get there, and God opens up your heart for that.